Today I'm going to give you some tips on how to upgrade your character designs by showing you my own process when I'm creating characters for my public projects. I also like to use this process when I'm making characters for fun, so you can take it however you like. To start off, I'm going to every artist's best friend, Pinterest. I like to find character art on here that I think looks cool, and I also like to look for whatever else gives up the general vibe for the character I'm planning on designing. It can help if you have a color palette in mind or a few keywords that you want to look up as a prompt. Now we can move on to my first part of the process. I'm going to talk about silhouettes and shapes and why they're so important to character design. Well, first of all, what do I mean by this? Well, I quite literally mean the silhouette, as in the shadow that you'll see when you fill in the outline of your character. A huge part of character design is making sure you have a unique and interesting silhouette. It makes your character more visually appealing and recognizable. I'm just going to throw up a few silhouettes of famous cartoon characters so you can see what I mean. Now, you probably recognize most, if not all of those, and that means that's a good silhouette. Doesn't have to be anything too crazy or detailed, just something recognizable and interesting to look at. The key to having an interesting silhouette might mean your character's positioned in a fun way, or maybe their proportions are a little bit crazy. Or maybe they have amazing hair, unique clothes. An example of this would be my PNG character that shows up when I'm explaining something. I've given her shaggy hair with a huge cowlick in the front, a bit more interesting to look at than if I drew her like this. I also like to trademark some of my characters with this huge zipper just for a fun little detail. People also like having more to look at, so unless you're designing a background character or a side character, I would add more detail, more fun shapes, fun outfits, fun hair, fun poses, all sorts to your main character that you're designing. It's just a bit more exciting to look at than the same old Jane or John Doe. Now we can move on to something called same face syndrome. I've suffered from this, many artists have suffered from this. At this point, it's a rite of passage. But what is same face syndrome? It's basically exactly how it sounds. Same face syndrome is when an artist gets stuck giving all of their characters the exact same facial features or facial expressions. Maybe you just don't know how to switch it up, or maybe you're perfectly fine with how it looks. Both are perfectly valid, but for those of you who don't know how to give your characters' faces that uniqueness, here's my advice. As obvious as this sounds, you just have to give them different facial features. Just trust me, this will be helpful. My problem was that I only knew one way to draw eyes, one way to draw noses, one way to draw lips, and on top of that, I only knew one way to lay them out on a face. On top of that, I only knew how to draw one type of face. First, I'm going to challenge you to draw a different face shape. Maybe make your face longer, maybe make it shorter, maybe make it rounder or more square. This will change how you lay everything out. Now try mixing things up a little. Maybe give one of your faces a hooked nose. Maybe you give one of your faces eyeliner, piercings, tattoos. Give someone glasses, or tired eyes, or freckles. But the biggest thing that helped me was switching up the eye shape. Try downturned eyes, semicircle eyes, adding eyelashes only to the bottom, boxy eyes, siren eyes, interesting iris shapes, heterochromia, eyeliner, anything that'll switch up your character's face, because eyes are what originally draw people to the face of a character. Anything different with the eyes will switch up how your entire face looks. Now try experimenting with facial expressions. That's what fully forced me to get out of my box of drawing the same face in the same dead-eyed placid stare and got me to start testing the waters with new things. And it made me comfortable with switching up my facial features too. Maybe make someone scowling, make someone sad, make someone scared, grumpy, happy, excited, anything. You can also communicate personality through your character design. Maybe your character's unorganized, so they look a little messy or eccentric. Maybe your character's shy and they show that through their posture and facial expressions. Maybe they like hiding behind their bangs. Maybe your character has a specific interest or hobby that they like to show through their accessories, or maybe they like reading, so they're always holding books. Research is also important. If you're applying a career, ability, or interest to your character, you want to make sure you're not misrepresenting it. For example, I don't know how to draw a trumpet, so if my character was really passionate about playing the trumpet, I would need to look at a reference photo. Something else you should consider when designing your character is the setting or world they're in. For example, if you're writing about a Victorian orphan, you're probably not going to put them in a crop top that says thick thighs save lives. Think about where your character spends their time. What do they spend their days doing? If your character is a knight or royal guard, they might wear armor or protective gear. If your character has to run around and survive a dystopian apocalypse, they probably won't be dressed up too fancy. Maybe your character is in a boarding school that requires uniforms. The possibilities are endless. Another thing you'll want to consider is your color palette. Your color palette can dictate the mood, the energy, and the first impression of your art. I'll go deeper into color theory and how I use that to color in a separate video, because if I do that now, this video might end up being an hour long. A quick fix for having a more cohesive color palette is to pick a few things from the same color temperature and then to desaturate them slightly and overlay a nice lighting color or a base color on top. Color temperatures basically means warm versus cool colors. Warm colors would be colors that lean more toward red and yellow, whereas cool colors would be colors that lean more toward blue. Picking things from the same color temperature can just help tie everything together and make them look a little more like they belong together. So now I'm going to use everything we learned to help me design a character for my public webtoon that I'm going to be publishing. She is just a brief side character, so I'm not too worried about how this ends up turning out, but I liked the concept that I had for it. So starting off with Silhouette, I've made her hair into one braid because I based her off of the lavender plant, and to me that looked the most like a lavender flower. For her face, I've given her a soft expression and tired eyes, because I've always heard that lavender helps you sleep, so I figured I'd make her look a little sleepy. For her outfit, I've decided to give her a dress because I wanted to portray her delicateness and her kindness, whereas most of my other characters will be in jeans and more streetwear. I really wanted her personality to shine through this outfit. I've also given her an apron because she's going to be working at a cafe. I'll probably keep readjusting this a little more, but this is just what I came up with in the moment, depending on what I was basing her off of. So for this character, I've managed to include her personality that shines through, I've managed to include a nice silhouette, I've managed to make her hair look kind of like the lavender that I'm basing her off of, and I've also managed to put her career into her character by giving her an apron. I hope this helped you level up your character designing skills. But of course, if you're just doing art for yourself, then all that matters is that you enjoy the process and you're happy with the result. Art is subjective. Happy drawing!